strap in. A lot of things I'm going to say today are things you might not like to hear. And you know how I know that? Because some of these things I'm about to say today, I don't even like to think. But it is what I think is the reality. It's what my experience in business and in sports business, because I actually work in the business of sports. The Glazers just sit in Florida. They got $1 billion from INEOS now in their pockets, so they're not looking for dividends for the next 3 years. But they're also on a sit and wait to watch and see how INEOS manages the club. INEOS is obviously cheap and good. They don't care how long it takes. And that's a problem for some fans because we're a little bit too emotional when it comes to these kind of things. And I get it, but we also have to let go. And this one hurts. This one really, really hurts because he was my favorite player for the longest time. Marcus Rashford. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford. Come on in, come close, look me in the eyes, and let's talk. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Yesterday was our big game against Brighton. We lost that game, and as some of you know, I'm from Los Angeles, California, so I had to wake up bright and early at 4:30 a.m. to watch the game. Actually, I woke up around 4:15, washed up real quick, got a cup of coffee, and was ready for the game so I can watch it live. Big mistake because it ruined the rest of my day. And I was going to make a video right after the game, but I thought probably need to sleep on it for a day, gather my thoughts, calm down because I wasn't happy yesterday, and then make the video, which is today, Sunday. So in the meantime, I was on and off Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and the negativity and the stuff that was going on, and I can totally understand it because I was frustrated myself. But basically, the fan base is divided, and it's been divided for a whole 24 hours now. And people are Ten Hag out. Some people are be patient. But basically, the whole fan base is divided, and we're used to this because we've been in turmoil for so long since Sir Alex Ferguson retired that it's just kind of the same cycle that we go through every single season. But this time, it's a little bit different. We've got some new owners. We do have some changes coming in. So how should we think about it? Where should we be as a fan base? I'm going to give you some of my ideas, my thoughts, my opinions, my observations. See if you agree with me. If you don't, leave it down in the comments. And if you do, go ahead and leave it down in the comments too. Last video got a record amount of views, a record amount of subscribers. We got like 92 subscribers on one video, which to me is unheard of. So I want to thank you guys who've been with me since day one, who keep watching my videos. Thank you very much. That definitely helps the algorithm. Thank you for sharing it. We had like 3 people share the video, which is, I know it's only 3, but for me, that's a big deal. I usually get 0 shares. So people actually like sending the link to their friends and stuff like that. Thank you so much. That is, I never asked for that. So you guys just did that all on your own. And that was so cool for me to see, especially because I had taken like 10 days off since making a video before making that video. So I'm really thankful. Thank you so much. And like I said in the last video, as soon as September comes around, which is 1 more week away, I can start uploading twice a week again because my job will cool down a little bit. Anyway, let's jump right in. The fan base is in turmoil. There's a lot of division in the fan base, and there are 3 topics I want to touch on today. 1, is Ten Hag to blame? Is Eric Ten Hag to blame? That's what we're going to talk about today. Should we be selling Scott McTominay is another one that's been on Twitter back and forth. Some people want to keep him. Some people are, talking about selling him and saying some negative things about him. And I totally understand both points of view. And actually, I'm in the camp of wanting to sell him, but I am going to lay it all out there for you guys. If you want to keep Scott McTominay, if you're sad to see him go, I totally understand where you're coming from. We're going to discuss a little bit as to why he needs to go in this video. And then 3, are the Glazers still calling the shots? I've seen a lot of people on Twitter say things like the Glazers are still in charge, INEOS is not in charge, or else we would have got Ugarte in by now, or yada, yada. We're going to talk about all those things, so strap in. A lot of things I'm going to say today are things you might not like to hear, and you know how I know that? Because some of these things I'm about to say today, I don't even like to think, but it is what I think is the reality. It's what my experience in business and in sports business, because I actually work in the business of sports. Before I did what I'm doing today, I was in sports marketing. And what I do today is actually I coach a sport. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to get into detail. It is not football or soccer, but I do coach athletes or people who want to be athletes playing a sport, on how to play a sport, the mental game and the physical, technical parts of the game. That's all I'm saying about that, and that's it. I want to kind of I'm not trying to brag. That's why I feel silly talking about myself. If you ask me more about it, I will talk about it more in videos, in future videos. But honestly, I feel like this is just me bragging, and I don't want to brag. So let's get right into the details of why you're here. You're here to talk about Manchester United, so let's jump right in. So let's start right at the beginning of this same problem. And the truth of the matter is that a couple of years ago, the Glazers decided, or finally came to the conclusion, that if they don't do something drastic or sell the club, that they're going to devalue the Manchester United Football Club. I was about to say the business, because that's how they look at it. They were going to devalue the business of Manchester United further down as the years go by, because the assets they own, like the stadium, needs a lot of rebuilding or refurbishing or whatever you want to call it. It basically needs investment, and they're not willing to put money out of their own pocket. You guys all know that. But also the team, as long as the team was underperforming, the value of the business of Manchester United will keep going down. That's how they think. That's what they wanted to solve. So they thought, some of the Glazers siblings thought, that cashing out now would be a good thing to do before the value goes down and they can't cash out for the large amount that they want. And some of the Glazers wanted a cash injection in the form of an investment as opposed to a loan, which was what they used to do. So then they put the club up for bidding, and then comes in INEOS. INEOS comes in, and why did they win the bid? Because they convinced the Glazers that if they allow them to buy in, which is basically giving them that cash injection that the club needed, the $200 million that the club was promised by the INEOS, which I believe they've already put up 100 or 150 million, and they were going to put up another 100 million by this Christmas. I can't remember the exact numbers. It might have been 300 million. They already put 200 in. They're going to put another 100 in. Point is, they were going to pump in cash to buy stock off the company, but also they were going to pay the Glazers off to buy stock directly from the Glazers. And in return, INEOS has promised the Glazers that they will turn the company around and make it a profitable business. Now, again, I hate calling my club a business, so believe me, this isn't something I like to hear. If it pisses you off to hear me talk like this, it should. Because to me, it's not a business. To me, it's something I love. To me, it's something that basically decides whether or not I'm going to have a good weekend or not. As you all know, we all had a pretty bad weekend because of yesterday's result. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. I'm sorry. I'm still mad about yesterday, so I might get off track, but I will try to pull myself back in. So the Glazers give INEOS the opportunity to buy in return that they promised that they would make the club more profitable. And also, they put it in writing that in order for us to do that, you're going to have to give us control. We're going to make all the decisions and blah, blah, blah. Fine. So now INEOS have the basically carte blanche to decide who is the CEO, who is the sporting director, who's managing the team, blah, blah, blah. The Glazers just sit in Florida. They got $1 billion from INEOS now in their pockets, so they're not looking for dividends for the next 3 years. But they're also on a sit and wait to watch and see how INEOS manages the club. Now, of course, they're involved in the board, on the board level, making some decisions. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's nothing INEOS wants to do that the Glazers have said no to. So if anybody out there is blaming the Glazers for anything happening right now in the decision-making, I think you're way off base. I really don't think that they're that involved. I don't think that they're picking up the phone and going, how dare you hire Omar Parada or whatever else. Okay? So the Glazers, they're sitting at home waiting to see if 2 or 3 years from now, the club's value starts to rise again, and that's all they want. They just want to make more money. And that's it. So INEOS is in the rebuilding business right now. They're in the rebuilding factor of our club. That's why they rebuilt the corporate level. New board members, new CEO, new sporting director, and blah, blah, blah. They wanted to see if they can find a better coach than Eric Ten Hag. They came to the conclusion that maybe there isn't someone out there that's available that's better than Eric Ten Hag. Some of that is going to piss some of you off. The fact that I just said that is going to piss some of you off. But I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to look you right in the eye, tell you to come get a little bit closer, and I'm going to tell you right now that out of the people that were available, I don't think there was anybody better than Eric Ten Hag either. I know some of you are going to get mad at what I just said. I don't think Mauricio Pochettino has proven to be better than Eric Ten Hag. I definitely don't think Thomas Tuchel was somebody who was going to help rebuild the club. Now, he might have a better season than Eric Ten Hag, but that is not what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody who's going to help rebuild the club from the ground up, someone who's going to nurture youth and talent. That's what INEOS is buying with Chibo Obi Martin, with, let me think, hold on, I got some notes here. With Chibo Obi Martin, Samuel Losale, and Sekou Kone, 3 young guys they bought. They bought Lenny Yoro. Was Thomas Tuchel going to be mentoring Lenny Yoro? I'm not sure. I don't think so. So that's why I think Eric Ten Hag wasn't a bad choice. Now, we're all mad at Eric Ten Hag. He made some awful, god-awful, terrible decisions yesterday in that game, which maybe his decisions cost us that game, and I understand that. So if you're watching me right now and you're fuming at the words that I'm saying, I get it, man. I'm not saying Eric Ten Hag's the best coach there is. I'm just saying for the rebuild and the handful of coaches that they interviewed for that job, maybe, just maybe, Eric Ten Hag wasn't actually a bad choice. Let's move on. They already made that choice. It wasn't my decision. It wasn't your decision. It was INEOS' decision. But I do understand where they're coming from. They wanted somebody who's going to help them rebuild. They weren't looking for somebody who's going to win the championship next season or this season. They weren't looking for an EPL contender this season. They were looking for somebody who's going to help rebuild for the next 3 or 4 years so that these young people that they're bringing in, these young players that they were bringing in, were better 3 years from now, not just sitting on the bench wilting away, which is what I think Thomas Tuchel would do. That's where I'm coming from. Okay, let's move on. So INEOS has this big project to rebuild, to make the club more profitable. There's 2 ways that I've come up with to make the club profitable: a bigger stadium and a team that can challenge for titles. Both of those directly and indirectly generate money. Directly, because a bigger stadium is definitely going to generate more money because there's going to be more ticket sales, and if there's better concessions, there's going to be more concessions sold, right? So directly, that's coming in from day one. But also, a new stadium, a bigger stadium, is going to attract more sponsorship deals and naming rights deal. And if, depending on how big it is, you can have a section for American Express, a section for this and that, luxury suites for the big sponsors and everything else. So that's how that happens. And also, challenging for the title directly earns you more money, whether that's TV money or actual like finishing a place in the Premier League money. But you also generate more sponsorship money because you're actually challenging for the title. So there's 2 ways, and that works for us as fans. That's what's got to keep us hopeful, is the fact that they know that they got to start challenging for titles if they want to actually generate more money. And I think they're on a clock to generate more money by year 3, by end of year 3. They need to show the Glazers that they're profitable. It might be year 2. I can't remember, but there's a stipulation in the contract that says if the Glazers are not happy and they find another buyer, that INEOS has to sell their shares to. So, by the way, all this stuff is public knowledge or has been reported on before. So if you look this stuff up, you'll find it online in old news articles. So anyways, I don't know if it's 2 years or 3 years, but I'm guessing it's 3 years because nobody would do a deal. If I was INEOS, I wouldn't do a deal where I have to prove my worth in 2 seasons. Maybe it's a soft checkpoint in 2 seasons, and then by the end of the 3rd season, they have to like show that there's progress being made, that there's a stadium being built, and stuff of that nature. So anyway, we're on a rebuilding project. Now, a rebuilding project, just like any other business project, can be has 3 things that every business wants. 3 things that every business wants is that a project is done fast, it's done cheap, and it's done good. Unfortunately, you can only choose 2 out of the 3. Very rarely can a project be done fast, cheap, and good. So either you get fast and cheap, but it's not good. So imagine like building a house, and you want to build it as fast as possible, and you want to make it as affordable as possible. You don't want to spend on like fancy things here and there. You could build a house fast and cheap, but it's probably not going to be a great house, right? It's not going to be made of marble and nice sinks and everything else. So you can have fast and cheap, but it won't be good. You can have fast and good, but it won't be cheap. That's basically Chelsea's owners' plans. Chelsea's owners are trying to be fast and good. They don't care how much it costs. That's why they've spent a lot of money the first 2 seasons that they've been in charge. Now, did it work? No, that doesn't mean that it's going to work every time. Okay, they're trying to get fast and good. They didn't get good. They got fast, though. They rebuilt the team. They bought a lot of players really fast in like 1 summer, their first summer, but it all kind of came collapsing down because they made some bad choices along the way. But if they would have made the right choices, it would have worked. Fast and good, and but not cheap, spend a lot of money does work. It's just got to be done by the right people and making the right choices. Chelsea, unfortunately, made some mistakes. Unfortunately for them, good for us. Unfortunately for them, made some mistakes. But you can see now that it's starting to turn around. They're making better choices. They got a good manager in there, I think. And their scouting may have changed and starting to get better. I don't know. We need to wait one more season to see if they're... But then again, then it's not fast, right? It's not fast because they spent a ton of money. They did it the wrong way. But anyway, that was their plan. Their plan was fast and good, and they didn't care how much it cost. INEOS is obviously cheap and good. They don't care how long it takes. Well, at least they don't care if it takes 3 to 5 years. They're not trying to be fast. They're trying to do it on the cheap, and they're trying to do it right and good. Fast is not a priority. And like I said, you can only choose 2 out of that 3. That's basically business 101. Now, there are the rare occasions where you get all 3, fast, good, and cheap, but those are super rare. That's not how a business does its planning. That's a luck thing. That's if like you get lightning in a bottle. That's if all the stars align, and that doesn't usually happen. You choose 2 out of those 3, and then sometimes you still end up with not good. And good is usually something that most businesses want, right? Unless a business is just trying to get something done. Fast and cheap, they don't care how good it is. Make sense so far? Stay with me. Let's talk about rebuilding the stadium before we talk about rebuilding the squad. Rebuilding the stadium means that we're going to have to let go of some of the nostalgia. Old Trafford, as it stands now, is not fit for purpose. It's just not. And I know some of us have a lot of memories, especially the match-going fans. And I hate to have to speak for them because I'm not someone who lives in Manchester. I don't get to go to every game and all that stuff. So I get it. I get that I shouldn't be opening my big mouth because who am I to speak for you if you're a match-going fan? But I don't have to be a match-going fan to tell you that Old Trafford is not fit for purpose. You saw the waterfall last season because of the leaks. You know how bad the concession stands are. I've seen the interviews. I've seen the news stories and all the stuff that we say about Old Trafford not being fit for purpose. So it's definitely not fit for purpose. And it is basically costing us, well, it's costing the match-going fan game day experience, but it's also costing the team money. It's costing the team money. The better the stadium, like we said, the more business sponsorship deals they get. I'm not talking about raising the ticket prices for the fans. That is not what I'm saying. I don't think they should do that. They should build a new stadium, and just based on the fact that they're going to build a new stadium with 20,000 more seats, they'll already make more ticket money without raising the ticket prices. That's not what I'm about. But while they build those seats, somewhere in the midsection, they need to make business suites that they can sell for a stupid amount of money just for American Express or whoever wants to has their logo up there and they have a little suite for their, I don't know, corporate people. But it doesn't matter because there'll be more seats for the match-going fans anyway. We should be okay with having, 10 suites in the building or 20 suites. As long as there's 20,000 more seats for the fans who can't get in the stadium who want to get in. So either way, it's a win-win. It's a win for the fans, and it's a win for the team. But we have to let go of the nostalgia. And I know that's hard. I know there's memories. Some people who live there might think as Old Trafford as the place where they first met their wife or proposed to their wife, or the first time their father took them to a game, or their grandfather took their father to a game, and then their father took them to a game. I get that. Memories are important, but memories are memories. We need to let go of the nostalgia so that we can move on, so that the team can move on, so that we can progress. We need to come into the new century. We're living in new times. It's not 1985 anymore. We have to move on. And that's a problem for some fans because we're a little bit too emotional when it comes to these kind of things. And I get it, but we also have to let go. The same goes for our playing squad. Our playing squad is just not fit for purpose. If the purpose is to challenge for titles, we are not fit for purpose. Ralph Rangnick told us that this squad needs open heart surgery. He did say that it shouldn't take a long time. 1 or 2 windows would do it, but that's the fast and good technique where it doesn't matter if it's cheap or not. Ralph Rangnick was thinking about big, bad Manchester United. We can spend hundreds of millions of dollars every summer and rebuild a team. If we spend $300 million or $200 million and then another 250 million net, by the way. I'm not talking about gross, which basically turns out to be 300 and 300 if we sell 100 million. Then we could rebuild it in 2 summers. That's just not the INEOS way, and that was never going to be the Glazer way. So the INEOS way, again, is to do good and cheap. So it's not going to take 3 or 2 windows. It might take 3 windows. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that upcoming when we talk about this window and everything else. But let's get back to this discussion. The squad is not fit for purpose, which means players need to be recycled, gone, right? We need to send some players out and bring some new players in, especially if we're doing this on cheap and good, which means a net cheap, by the way, not a gross cheap. So we have to sell a Scott McTominay to get Manuel Ugarte in. So anybody out there who's like, I can't believe we're selling Scott McTominay, he's all about Manchester United. I get it, but let go. Let it go. He is not fit for purpose. He's not the guy who's going to make the difference in us challenging for the title. And there's people out there saying things like he bailed Ten Hag out. Maybe he did, but if we didn't need to be bailed out in the first place, then he wouldn't have bailed out Ten Hag. But our team needs to be rebuilt. It's been needing to be rebuilt properly since Alex Ferguson left. It has not been rebuilt properly since Ferguson left. We have done these half-ass rebuilding jobs with the wrong players who don't fit the same style or the same system. It's gross. And even to this day, there are players we cannot get rid of, like a Casemiro. Casemiro, love the guy, was a legend, doesn't have the legs to play the kind of style of football that Eric Ten Hag wants to play, which we're also going to talk about in a second. We're going to talk about Ten Hag's style of football and how it might be pissing some of you off, but I see what he's trying to do, and he just doesn't have the squad to do it. In my belief, we'll get there in a second. But anyways, the point of this discussion right now is that players like Scott McTominay have to go, and we have to be okay with it. And we just got word that Napoli has put in a new bid for 30 million euros, which Manchester United has accepted. So now we're waiting for Scott McTominay to agree on the deal and leave. And it looks like he wants a payout from Manchester United too. So tell me, this guy who's supposed to be so in love with the club and heart and passion, and he dies for Manchester United, why is he trying to milk us for more money before he leaves? Just like anybody else. Because he's still a man, and he still in the end, his priority is him. And I get that. I'm not, if he can get some money out of it for his own pocket, who's to say I wouldn't have done the same thing? If Manchester United doesn't want me and they want to try to sell me, and I can get an extra 2-3 million out of it to put in my own pocket before I move to Italy, I may do the same thing. So I'm not putting him down for doing it, but I'm looking at you and telling you, like, hey man, he's leaving and he's getting some money for it. Like he's not exactly being kicked out the door, yeah? Like he's getting paid and he's being asked to leave, which hopefully he will, because we need that spot to get an Ugarte in. So now let's talk a little bit about the game yesterday, what we saw, the observations we've made from the start of preseason till now, and where we're going with this squad. Now, we have seen that we are playing better. We're definitely playing better. The press is better. The press triggers, and everybody's kind of sort of on the same page. Everybody knows when the triggers are. Even we know as watching fans that we wait for a little bit. We block off the passes to the wings or the fullbacks. We wait until they pass backwards, and then that triggers the press, and everybody takes a couple steps forward and starts to mark man-to-man and see if we can win the ball back. And it has worked better. But we don't do it every time. We don't do it every minute because we've got lazy legs or older legs in there, especially in Casemiro and Maguire. And the player that helps us the most during the press is Mason Mount. But Mason Mount is kind of like that puzzle piece that just doesn't fit with the ideal starting 11. The starting 11 we're going to have in the future probably does not include Mason Mount. Mason Mount's going to turn into the Scott McTominay, I think, in my opinion. I don't know. It depends on if everybody's healthy and if Manu is playing well, then Mason Mount is going to be the guy who comes off the bench if we need a goal, just to add some legs, some engine to the engine room, just to keep running like crazy, get us the ball back so we can create something and get that goal if we need it in the last 20 minutes. Mason Mount, though, when he's not on the field, our back line is a little bit farther back. Our press is just that little bit slower. He is like this crazy workhorse, the legs we've needed, the engine we've needed in the midfield ever since Fred left. He's a better Fred. I've heard him been called that by the Muppeteers. I believe it was him. I think James of the Muppeteers calls him the better Fred, and actually he's got a good point there. He's got a good eye on that. He is the better Fred. more legs than Fred, and actually a better pass and a better touch than Fred when he's on. Mason Mount, though, cannot be this important of a puzzle piece because he's not going to be a part of the starting 11. We're going to need to start playing games with a striker up front. But I can totally see Ten Hag's dilemma of, like, if I bring in a Xerxes, we lose something. We lose a little bit of that press because Bruno can't run or press as hard as Mason Mount. Bruno's a workhorse. He doesn't stop, but he's not as fast as Mason Mount. He doesn't have like that burst of energy, that quick step. He doesn't have it. And Manu, God bless him, he's very talented, but he also does not. He's not that quick. He is not that quick. He's great with the ball. He's great on the ball. He's just not that quick. But also, Manu's young. Like, Manu needs to step up his game a little bit and be a little bit better. He needs to be a little bit more like what Frankie de Jong would offer in the midfield when he has the ball. He's not there yet, but you can totally see that that's where the future is. Like, everybody calls him the next Clarence Seedorf. He's not there yet, but he can totally become the next Clarence Seedorf or a Frankie de Jong type who breaks a press and gets our offense going. That's where Manu has to take his game to, or elevate his game to, if he's going to ever be somebody like substantial or somebody like successful at like what he does so well, which is keep the ball, not lose the ball to the press, and break the other team's formation so that the offense is firing. That's where I think Manu has to develop into, hopefully by the end of this season. Back to Mason Mount. So he's not going to be starting games. He just doesn't make sense. You can't have Bruno and Mason Mount starting every game while Højlund and Xerxes are sitting on the bench. It just does not make sense. So Mason Mount, that's a tricky situation, and that basically is what's happening to Ten Hag. There's a lot of tricky situations all over the the squad. We don't have a natural left back. And then starting Maguire and not starting De Ligt is a Eric Ten Hag mistake as long as De Ligt is actually healthy enough and fit enough to start. So if De Ligt is healthy enough and fit enough to start, I don't understand why we're starting Maguire when Maguire is only there because no one offered 60 or 70 million for him. If somebody offered 60 or 70 million for Maguire last summer or this summer, we would have sold, and he was willing to leave, we would have sold him because he's not in our long-term plans. So if De Ligt's going to be our starter for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons, or maybe it's going to be Lenny Yoro, but the point is he's Lenny Yoro's backup, not Maguire. Maguire is going to be third. So if we would have got Branthwaite, Maguire would be third pick for right center back. Right? So why is Maguire starting? That's a Eric Ten Hag issue. Eric Ten Hag's a little bit stubborn when it comes to the starting lineup, and that does cost him, and that does make him look bad. Casemiro, he can't do nothing about. His options are start Casemiro or start Scott McTominay in that position for the last game. And Scott McTominay is so bad as a 6. Like, horrible as a 6. I don't want to say anything negative because it looks like he's leaving, so I don't have to say anything negative. But Scott McTominay, McFred needed to be gone. We've been wanting McFred gone for a very long time. We got rid of Fred. We never got rid of the Mick. And now the Mick's probably going to be gone too. And I say good riddance because that needed to be broken up and gone. Just getting rid of half wasn't enough. We needed to get rid of the whole McFred and upgrade it. I'm not saying McFred was like god awful, but they weren't title challenging, not fit for purpose. That's what we were saying from the beginning of this episode or show. Not fit for purpose. Purpose, challenge for titles. McTominay, not fit for purpose. There's one more player I have to talk about, and this one hurts. This one really, really hurts because he was my favorite player for the longest time. Marcus Rashford. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford. Come on in. Come close. Look me in the eyes, and let's talk. Marcus Rashford. I used to have a nickname for Marcus Rashford when he was really, really good, like 2008, 2009, 2010. No, what am I talking about? 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, or half of 2021. I used to call him Elastico Rashford or Elastico Marcus because he would do this Elastico all the time and people would fall for it over all the time. Marcus was like unplayable in some games. Marcus, you could tell, loved to play football in those years. He loved it. He was doing tricks. He was doing the Ronaldo chop, Elasticos. I'll try to throw up some footage when I'm doing all this commentary, but if the footage isn't there, it's probably because I got a copyright strike and I had to re-upload the video without the footage. So Elastico Marcus is gone. And I feel like he's lost some of that passion for the game. It's probably Manchester United's fault. I'm not going to blame all of this on Marcus. Have you ever had a job which you actually loved, and then after working there for so long and seeing how bad the management was or how bad the situation was and the treatment was of the staff, you just stop loving that job? That's kind of what I feel like happened to Marcus. But if we're going to rebuild, he needs to be dangerous. We need that guy. Every marquee team has that guy, like a Vinicius Jr. type, which every time he touches the ball, it scares the pants out of whoever's guarding him, right? It scares because they're like, oh my God, I hope I don't mess this up. I hope I don't trip and fall over my own feet, because this dude can go left. He can go right. He can do a Ronaldo chop, an elastico. He can spin me. Who knows what he's going to do? Or he could just suck in 2 defenders and lay it off for somebody else to score. Every marquee great team has that guy. And if they don't, then they have a whole squad that's on the same page playing like really, really good football. And they have 2 or 3 guys who are very close to being that guy, but not quite there. Okay? I love that guy. That's my favorite guy. I love Neymar. Neymar is one of my favorite players. Not his attitude, not his personality, not like how he acts, but the way he plays. I love Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho is probably my favorite player of all time. I think Ronaldinho in his prime was better than CR7 or Messi or whoever. Ronaldinho's best games were more fun to watch than Messi's best games or CR7's best games. All things being, that's my opinion, by the way. You don't have to agree with me. That's just me. I like to watch that. That's what I love to watch. It's okay if you don't agree with me. I'm not saying I'm right, you're wrong. That's just what my eyes love to see. That's where I get like excited watching that kind of player. So Marcus used to do that for me, right? Watching games back then when Marcus was on used to get me out of my seat. I was like, oh boy, did you see that? Even when he didn't score, I was like, whoa, did you see that? Now I'm just like, bro, stop. You're not doing anything. You're just running. And he's trying to work hard now. I see that. He's actually playing better this season than he played last season. So I'm not bashing him. I am not bashing him. I just wish he loved the game to the point where he remembers like how exciting he was and starts doing some chops, some elasticos. And if they don't come off, it's okay, man. Try it again, because I know you got it in you. Like, I know he has it in him because he used to be so great at it. And his feet move so fast. Like, I wish I had that kind of speed. His feet move so fast that when he does a chop or an elastico, it fools everybody. It fools everybody. Watch some of that old highlights of Marcus from 2019, and you'll see it. 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020. Watch it. You'll see it. Hopefully I have it up here if I didn't get a copyright strike. Hey, by the way, I'm risking getting copyright strike. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I always forget to say that. And then this time I was like, oh, wait, I should say that right now. So please, if you haven't subscribed yet, drop a subscription. Subscribe. I don't even know how to say it. That's probably why I don't say it. Thank you. All right. We need Marcus to wake up and be that marquee player. We also need INEOS to be a little bit tough with him. We also need INEOS to sit him down, play some of those highlights that I'm talking about, and be like, yo, we're looking for that guy. If you know where that guy is, tell him to give us a call, because we haven't seen him in a while. Get that guy. I'm not talking about the guy who's just running behind the back line, looking for a through ball to score a goal. We still want that because we need those goals. But that's not going to happen every game, especially when you're figured out. Sometimes when you're playing against Walker and Man City, give him a little elastico and pass him by. Don't wait to run in behind him. Have him in front of you and go, oh yeah, watch this. Fake left, chop right, and see if you can pass him up or open up a passing lane for somebody else. Give me some of those. Stop just looking for that through ball, man. Do it, man. You were exciting once. Get it back. If we don't get that, then INEOS maybe INEOS need to get rid of a Marcus Rashford next summer. Maybe, by the way. I don't know. But I do know this. Even if you don't get rid of Marcus Rashford, we need that guy. We need that winger that's going to do something. Alejandro Garnacho is great. I love Alejandro Garnacho. I do. He's amazing. I like Ahmad too. They both offer so many different qualities, different things. But I still need that one guy that can create all on his own. The guy who can win the game by himself. We need one of those. I don't mean every game, because even Ronaldinho couldn't win every game by himself, but we need one of those. It's just the way Manchester United is. And by the way, when we get one of those, we need to, sorry, Mason Mount. I said a lot of good things about Mason Mount. We need to take that number 7 shirt off his back and put it on that guy's back. Because to me, that drives me nuts. I grew up with the number 7 shirt meaning something. That was your best player, your freestyler, the guy who was going to look great out on the pitch while also helping us win games. And Mason Mount, as awesome as he is, and as much as I like him as I do, he's just not a number 7. He's not a Manchester United number 7. We need to get that marquee player. We need to take that shirt and put that number 7 on his back. And we need to bring back the same feelings I used to have when I used to watch this team play back in the Sir Alex Ferguson days. Guys, I did a whole lot of talking. This was a longer video than I intended it to be, but I also have more things to say. I'm actually not done, to be honest. But I'm going to cut it off here because I don't want to bore you. I want to keep you with me before I make you bored of me. Drop a like, subscribe. I love you guys. I will see you soon. I'll make a video right after the Liverpool game. God, I hope we don't lose that game so that I'm in a good mood so I can make a video. But I will make a video either the day of, which means it'll be posted the next day, or the next day, which is Labor Day, a holiday for me. I'm off that day, but it's also the beginning of September where I'm not going to be working overtime all the time like I am now in August. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Thanks for being with me. Bye.